All right, so for the overview this week, we got huge, I wouldn't say huge one, but very important. I mean, I would say huge maybe. But so happy he came on with us. We did an interview with BrakeHard blog, so if you don't follow him on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, any social media platform, huge name in the sport, been covering it for a while, does a great job at it, and we got him on. We did about a 40-minute interview, so I hope you enjoy it. All right, we look good. Awesome, man. Guys, thanks for being with us today. Today we got a kind of surprise for you. We didn't really tell anybody that anybody was coming on, but happy to have him here with the BrakeHard blog on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I guess it's X now, so my bad on that. But all the different things you do, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Yeah, I know I call it Twitter still. I haven't, fun fact, still have never updated the app on my phone, so I still have the Twitter icon on there instead of the X icon.
I can't believe it works.
Dude,
I can't either. It's definitely probably a reason why it kind of crashes sometimes, but yeah, still rocking the Twitter.
That's wild, man. So it's the blue thing.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And like I'm so reluctant. I don't know if you guys can it blurs out a little bit, but it's down there in the corner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. But so thanks for coming on. For our viewers, man, if you don't mind, just tell us a little about yourself, how you kind of got in to the sport, and just kind of where you want to go from there. I don't know if some of our viewers have ever heard of you or not, but just take it from there.
For sure. Yeah. So I started watching NASCAR like as a kid. My dad wrenched on race cars, and that just kind of got me into it, doing dirt track stuff, and then grew up watching motorsport like of all kind, Indy 500, NASCAR, waking up early for Formula One on the weekends when I was a kid and everything like that. And then it kind of just morphed into me wanting to just kind of talk about race cars on the internet, because I'm sure you guys, it's cool that you have like a friend that's right there with you to talk about racing, but like it's obviously not super popular amongst like a younger generation. So just kind of found an internet community and started posting on Twitter. And then when TikTok started to take off, a little post-pandemic there, it's really taken off well for me, which has been great. So yeah, just want to have a nice platform to be able to put out information, have some fun with it as well, and then have met great people along the way. So yeah, I do this on the side, have a professional job as well that I do, typical 9 to 5. But thankfully, I'm able to work from home. So like behind, the camera here is my actual desk, and then I can just spin around and do some content, in the evenings. So it works out well.
Yeah, dude,
nice. That's awesome. You mentioned real quick. I know Spencer has some prepared questions, but I just kind of want to fill it out. So you mentioned talking about dirt. Are you sprint cars or super lates?
I'm a sprint car guy.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, my dad did sprint car stuff when I was a kid. Always been a 410. We can dabble in 360s as well, but yeah, always been more of a sprint car guy than a late model guy.
Nice. So we're pulling you away from a high limit race tonight.
Yeah, thankfully it's on the West Coast, so it'll be a
little while, right?
Yeah, 10:30, 11 feature.
Nice. Cool, man. Yeah, I just want to know that. If I hear somebody talk about dirt, I just always want to know. Because I like them both, but if I have my pick, I'm
you're
super,
a dirt phenom.
Yeah, but I like super lates for sure.
I've been getting more into like the Lucas Oil Tour just because I have flow.
That's how I
am
too, because I have flow.
Yeah, like I just can't spend the money for Dirt Vision just for what it offers. Yeah,
I tell Spencer that all the time. I think last I checked, it's like $300 a year.
It is. It's crazy. For basically like 2.5 series.
Yeah,
we're getting late model sprints and then that Outlaw Midget Tour or whatever they have there.
Yeah, the Extreme Outlaws, whatever they call them.
Yes, that's what it is. But then on Flow, you get so much content every single. There's so much you can't watch it all.
Yeah, I agree.
For $180 a year, give that to me every time.
So I go over to his house and watch Flow because I'm really super cheap and I don't want to buy it at all. And does your Flow have any issues, or is it just him? Like when you're
it's definitely my internet. I'm sure.
Okay. Because
it
when
depends.
You're
so
race,
I'll get flow issues depending on what track they're at. Some tracks definitely have a better infrastructure than others, like in terms of their internet hookup. But man, like Florence on the asphalt, like late model side of things. Yeah, that is. It doesn't matter if Dale Jr. is racing there or not. It's generally always going to be not the best.
Yeah, that's good to know. So it might not just be me.
Yeah, it may not.
Might be a flow problem.
I was really hoping that you'd say you have
you can
zero.
lay off me
Yeah,
now.
I know. I was really hoping you'd say you have zero issues. He's just being stupid. So, no, kind of moving from there, kind of just moving into the NASCAR scene a little bit. What do you think, overarching question, what do you think about the state of the sport since you've been watching? Give us a little background, what you think.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of
Yeah, I
years.
know, man. I know it's a lot. So you can kind of pick what you want from there.
Yeah, I think for right now, like I'm pretty bullish on the future of the sport. I know people in the comments will always be like, "Oh, you're a NASCAR homer. You're getting paid by NASCAR, whatever." I don't get paid by NASCAR, but I do think that the current regime they have in there has been making positive moves. Are there things they can do better? Absolutely, they understand that. But if you compare, let's just call the last 5-year run from 2020 to through where we're at now compared to the previous 5 years, we're in a much better spot now than we were back then. So that's what I like to see is some positive momentum. Obviously, you see them, trying to re-engage with the grassroots side of thing. Love to see that. Taking some risk, doing the street race, doing Mexico. Again, things that are good to bring the sport to an audience that maybe wouldn't see it before. So I like all of that, but then also bringing back tracks like Rockingham, North Wilkesboro, going to Bowman Gray. Again, all net positives for the sport. Yeah, there's some things that they need to work on. Gen 7 issues, continues to, be questions and stuff surrounding that. Obviously an ongoing lawsuit, not ideal there, but for the most part, like I think they're in a better spot now than they were, under the Brian France regime and things like that.
I think that's pretty fair, and I think that's what we always say too, pretty much. I mean, and we'll pick on the things that deserve to be picked on.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, with these overviews, like this week, your overview, 1 week we did it on charters and just talked about, because there's so much negative connotation on those too, right? Because and really what it is fans, in my opinion, just don't understand the good they can be. Now, obviously, they need to be fixed, right? Or we wouldn't have a lawsuit going on. But the concept and the overall health of the sport depends on stuff like charters. So I feel like that's kind of like you. We try to bring that to the fans' attention. But then if something's terrible or something's bad, we're not afraid to talk about that either.
Exactly. And I think discourse is good. Like you need healthy discourse. Like if everybody's just agreeing that everything's great, like that's not good for the health of the sport. Yeah. You need some people in there that are like, hey, don't agree with, X, Y, and Z that's happening here. Yeah, charters are a difficult one because if you look at my comments when I talk about charters sometimes, like I'm pro charter because of what it brings to the team owners and what it brings to like the viability and the stability of the sport. I completely understand people not liking them, but it has made the fields more competitive, which is a good thing.
Do we think that the field, also with charters making the field more competitive, but with the introduction of the Gen 7 car as well?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Don't get me wrong there. Gen 7 has definitely helped out. It's kind of leveled the playing field here, but you have an incentive now with the charter to perform better. Because if you perform better, your charter's worth more money. Not that you're going to sell it, but there is always that opportunity that you could. And it's technically an asset, so you can borrow against the worth of it. So the better that it's going to be, potentially is more money you could borrow against it.
Yeah. Kind of staying on that same vein a little bit, we talked talking about charters, talking about parity in the sport now. What I personally think that we now have tons. You good? You gotta go?
Yep. Sorry, I was making sure my mic was hooked up, and I accidentally switched it to the speaker from the mic, so I missed half your question there. So if you could repeat it.
No, you're good, man.
He was rambling. Don't worry.
Yeah, God, dude, quit embarrassing me. Talking about parity in the sport. Charters have kind of brought that. The Gen 7 car has brought that. Before the playoff format, we didn't have much parity. And that's kind of what we feel like the reason that the playoffs kind of were introduced. Mm-hmm. Do you think that NASCAR tries to manufacture more of these highlight moments because they have to used to get fans engaged, but now the racing's so good that we don't have to do as much of that stuff?
I definitely think there's a valid point with that for sure, because when you look at it, like, yeah, one of the things that NASCAR constantly talks about is wanting to create that Game 7 moment in the championship race. And we've really yet to see a game 7 moment like a walk-off or, this crazy performance where you're like, damn, I'm going to remember that for forever. We just haven't seen it. We have seen great moments. I think last year, the Tyler Reddick win at Homestead, that's a great moment. We've seen walk-offs, Ryan Blaney at Homestead, stuff like that. Ryan Newman, 2014, the first year of this type of format, him just walling Larson to make it to that championship race in Miami. Like, those are all great moments. I don't think it's delivered the moment that they've been hoping for in that championship race. And now, because the racing's so good, I don't think we necessarily need the elimination style that we have. Don't get me wrong. I completely understand it just because it creates drama, right? Like, you're always going to get drama out of it. But I've been campaigning hard for a 3-race final round. And it's because the racing's so good, you can put on really good races across 3 of them and, have 4 drivers still be really close heading into wherever that final race is.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah. You're speaking our language with that because Austin over here has a completely new style that he would love to implicate in the playoffs. That's kind of point based and a little bit of everything with the rounds. But yeah, I think you're onto something there with the 3 rounds. I think it's got to happen now because having just a walk off race is honestly ridiculous at this point. So.
It really is, and it just hasn't ever set up for it. And thankfully, NASCAR doesn't throw these like entertainment cautions like Carl Edwards kind of talked about last week anymore, which I think has really helped because, 2016, you can kind of talk about that being a little bit tainted there just in terms of how all of that ended and trying to set up one of those moments maybe. And it just didn't work out how I think they expected it to work out. Obviously, Jimmy winning was a great storyline and stuff, but I'm happy we haven't seen that sort of happen the last few years where they easily could have done it at Phoenix and like thrown a caution just to rack everything back up and create, a wild finish. And they haven't. They've let it play out, which I appreciate, but it's just been boring. Like, been a bit of a snoozer every year.
Yeah. Which and I'll ask you the same thing. So I know everyone kind of says, well, let's make the final race at Homestead. But in my opinion, we're not fixing the problem, right? I mean, if we have a 1-race finale, whether that race is exciting, whether we've got somebody on the wall, someone wrapping the bottom, it's not solving. In my opinion, we're not solving the overarching issue, which is it all came down to 1 race. So I think the people in my opinion, the people that say we'll move to Homestead it's a little hypocritical almost because we're not fixing the problem.
Yeah, we're not fixing the overarching problem, which is like 1 race. We would like to have it be 3 races or whatever. The only thing I think about changing it to Homestead is like Phoenix is so dependent on basically running the bottom and, being good on a flat track. There's not much passing there. Lane wise, you can kind of move around, but you can't that much. And the driver's not making up a ton like they could at Homestead. Homestead's multiple different lanes. You have the option to run the bottom, run the top, run the middle, wherever you want to go. And I think that you can just have a better overall race there. But like you said, it doesn't solve our problem of wanting basically an extended championship.
Right. Yep.
Do you think the soft tire though at Phoenix has added something maybe potentially to this year's championship that we could see?
I think it has. My only concern with that soft tire, and we saw it in Martinsville last year and it did really good. My biggest concern with it is if everybody has it on, we're not going to see those comers and goers like we saw a couple weeks ago. Everybody's going to be running the same lap times, and that's what concerns me about that. Granted, if it falls off and you have guys just absolutely trashing them and some people being able to conserve them, then yeah, that's good. But I'm cautious about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd make it softer.
Denny Hamlin would win the championship if he got to the final. I mean, he would.
Yeah.
He would, just because he'd be good at that.
Right?
Yeah, he's a machine. So I'm with you though. That last point you said, make it softer. I want it to be like Bristol and they just blow up, because they don't know what they're doing.
Maybe a little bit better than that, but no.
I don't know. I was there. It was fun.
Yeah, okay. No, I was too.
Yeah, I mean, Bristol was super fun last year. I hope that the spring race kind of is reminiscent again this year, but I'm not sure since it's going to be. It's like 3 or 4 weeks later than it was last year, right?
Yeah, they moved it into April.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be warmer out.
So, another question. We talked about kind of this, everything, all the seasons. What do you think about this season so far as it compares to the other Gen 7 errors, or the other Gen 7 seasons that we've had? So
it's
far.
been a weird one. Just because, like, William Byron wins the Daytona 500. Okay, Daytona 500 has become a bit of a crapshoot in terms of, like, if you position yourself well to miss that big one, like, you have a shot at winning here. But, hey, Williams still put himself in position, still first across the line. That's great. Then see Bell going on a 3-race run where he's not the best car, maybe, in any of those 3 races, which is kind of surprising. Put himself in position. Atlanta led 1 lap. Coda took advantage of his tires there at the end over what Kyle Busch had and everybody else at that point. And then at Phoenix, like, he was definitely one of the better cars, but that he didn't really make it to the front until like the second half of that race. So in terms of like where we're at now, I think we have way more questions this year than we did last year. Like, Hendrick Motorsports hasn't won outside the Daytona 500. Not sure we expected that. Joe Gibbs Racing, who hadn't won since June of last year, has racked off 3, but then their other 3 cars are kind of just non-existent at this point.
Garbage.
Penske, Joey Logano doesn't have a top 10.
Yeah.
And then you have, Josh Berry winning a race, and nobody had that on their bingo card, at least for the first 5 races of the year. So I think we're in a weird spot, but not a bad spot at all. I think we have good parity right now, but I think there's a lot of people that are heading into Miami this week and being like, we got to win, kind of right the ship here, and just get that result. But yeah, I like it because there's a lot of uncertainties at this point.
Who is in the worst spot going in as far as like Penske, RFK, who like you said has to have a win here at Miami, needs one bad?
I would say Penske, but obviously like they just won with Josh Berry. I know Wood Brothers, but we all know where that car comes from.
We preach that every week. Yeah.
Outside of that, like, it's hard to kind of nail somebody down. 2311 Racing, I think they need to have a good result. Bubba has had a really good turnaround this year compared to what he started off last year, but Tyler Reddick hasn't exactly contended for wins yet, like we saw him do that at last year. Hendrick Motorsports, I think, is a team that probably would like to see one of their drivers go to victory lane this weekend just to kind of, steer them in the direction they think they need to be going. They've had fast race cars, haven't closed out races. I think the other one, take Christopher Bell out of the equation. Joe Gibbs Racing and their other 3 cars, the 11, 19, and 54, they really need a good showing. Yeah, Denny got that second at Phoenix, but outside of that, those other 3 cars have been non-existent for the most part, and I think they need to show up this weekend at a track that traditionally isn't that great for them.
Are you hitting the panic button on Ty Gibbs yet, or are you still chalking it up to, obviously 2 to 3 years to win a race is what we see, but you think back to like a Chase Elliott or William Byron, they were always knocking on the door. I mean, I'm a little panicking for Ty.
No, I would absolutely hit the panic button for Ty in the Cup Series right now. Like we always see, race 100 is kind of like when you see people win in that 95 to 100 start range. His 100 start comes at the Coke 600 this year. And last year, I would have thought he would have won that. He knocked on the door. He had a number of top 5s, finished in 3rd a couple times, maybe 3 times last year. This year, dude is just completely lost. Like on Sunday, he radios to the crew and he basically tells him he's a foot off the racetrack. He said the car's not in the racetrack at all. And I'm like, okay, that's bad. And then he comes down pit road and he's like, I want you to tighten me up so bad, I'm plowing the fence down. And it's like, how bad is this race car if he just wants wholesale changes? And they made him turn off the car. He went a lap down while they made all these changes, comes back out, finishes 22nd. So I guess his day could have been worse. But yeah, I don't know if there's just a huge disconnect there between he and his new crew chief or what, but I know people don't like him. The kid can drive, but he is just lost right now. It's like he's got the yips, and he's just completely out in left field.
Yeah, it's weird. And then Spencer, we haven't talked about this yet, but he just ran his first 410 sprint car race, qualified to the A feature out of a heat. Didn't even have to run a B. I mean, so like you were saying, it's not like he doesn't know how to drive, and it's not like it's not like it's affecting him in every series. I mean, it seems to just be this next gen car, and I don't get it either.
But we didn't see that from him last year. I mean, dude kind of progressed. I mean, he was top. Yeah. I wouldn't say he was knocking on the door per se, but I would give him consistent top 10s. He was finishing well, but
like
now it's
Bristol
bad.
Spring, he led a ton of laps.
Yes,
he did,
couldn't conserve his tires.
No, couldn't.
But
yeah. A lot of that was them, chasing the rabbit, letting him get up there. But no, I agree. It looked a lot. It looked last year like this was going to be the breakthrough to me. And then it's almost like he's already fallen off a cliff 5 weeks in.
So bad.
just completely regressed. And then you have guys like Josh Berry who wins in his 52nd start, and you have to be like, oh, what am I doing wrong for, if you're Ty Gibbs. Also, like, I don't typically watch the pre-race, the pre-race show with the grid walk and everything like that, but his interview on the grid walk last weekend in Vegas after his flip in that high limit race, slightly concerning because he slurred his words.
I did see clips of that. I couldn't tell if he was trying to hurry it up because it's that grid walk where the camera's quick or
right.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. You would hope to God that they did some kind of protocol on the poor kid before he got in a cup car.
I would imagine they did.
Dude, he's fine. One. He's fine.
Maybe so. Maybe so. But no, I saw exactly what you saw. It was a little concerning.
He slurred his words.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. It was bad.
I missed
not
that.
Good.
Dang. It's not good. What else we got? Vegas.
I was going to ask you, so obviously you're pretty big on the social media side of NASCAR and our little, we call it our bubble.
Yeah.
Just kind of how do you see the future of that, number one, and then number two, obviously this wouldn't apply to you. You're like us. You have a 9 to 5 and do this, obviously because you like it, but also the monetary aspect of it too. But do you see any avenue for people to get started like you did, maybe at a younger age, really popular on TikTok or something, and translate that over into not necessarily a broadcasting job, but some kind of sports analyst within NASCAR?
Yeah, 100%. I think that Eric Eastep kind of paved the way for most people now, and then I do a different version of what he does. And then you have other people out there like Iceberg who does a different version of content. You guys, I think it's a really good avenue to go. NASCAR, to their credit, is starting to work with creators more, which is super nice. I think there's a lot of ongoing conversations, not just with myself, but other people as well around where just kind of hey, what do you guys need to sort of lift everybody up here? And I think that's a really good thing. If the sport embraces it, that's awesome. At the same time, there's some younger people out here. There's this kid on Twitter. His name is Joey Tartamella. Not the show busiest name out there, but the kid is dedicated to the sport. He's a great kid to talk to. I think he's 16 or 17. Oh, wow. Knows his stuff, and he's a kid that I think if he sticks with it long enough, he could be one of those kids that comes from the social media side of things to, whatever type of role that could be if he wants to do that. And there's going to be others out there like that. And hopefully the networks kind of, take notice of that. The one big difference I will say is having dabbled around with some of the TV people, the TV side of things in NASCAR, there's a big difference between content creator and TV presenter, just in sort of how we present things, where one of the TV presenters or, somebody that works for NASCAR.com isn't the best at relating to a social media crowd. And it's because they're almost a little bit too polished in a sense, where your YouTube creators, you have your mess ups or you just kind of sit back and, shoot the crap and do whatever. But yeah, I think there's definitely an avenue for it.
And then I guess I got one more, Spence.
Dude, to hit him.
So just obviously, in this content creation and this is something we battle with too. Do you ever feel like you have to ride that line of, maybe getting a click for a certain title or tagline, or just sticking to what and is that kind of an internal battle, or is that just something that you go along with?
No, it's 100% an internal battle, because there's definitely topics I know I can talk about every single day if I wanted to get clicks out of it. There's certain drivers, certain topics I know we can, just absolutely farm if I wanted to. I don't want to do that. The other thing I hate doing is hearing a rumor and then people immediately posting it without doing an ounce of research into it. Because if I did that, the amount of texts that I get, on a weekly basis, they would be the wildest things out there. And I think that one thing I've really tried to do, and I try to tell the audience this, is if I'm going to tell you something rumor based, it's because I've confirmed it with 2 other people at least beforehand. And I don't want to go for that cheap click of being oh, so-and-so is going to take this ride or whatever, the Alex Bowman stuff last year. I sat on that for a month before Door Bumper Clear talked about it. And it's just because there's no concrete evidence here. Yeah, what they said wasn't wrong, but at the same time, it wasn't going to happen, that type of thing. Justin Haley ride swap last year, again, had that a couple days early as well, but it's not worth it to go for that cheap click and burn a relationship. And that's kind of the battle that I have in my head. So Yeah, it's a constant battle, but I try to, especially topics now outside of like the, race review or whatever, was it a good race type of videos. Yeah, I know what topics to kind of, steer towards and which ones to kind of avoid just because one, it might not be very popular. Two, I know the type of comments it's going to get and I kind of want to just steer from that.
Have you ever thought about doing a podcast type format, or do you just want to stick to your short clips on TikTok and of course your X page?
Yeah, so I try to do a YouTube video every day, every other day, kind of keep it around like 12 minutes or so, somewhere in that range. Nothing too long. The podcast side of things, I have done it before. I did it a little bit last year, but because of my work schedule and just kind of life in general, it's hard to like nail down a specific time and then have somebody else do it as well. And my buddy and I used to do one before. Life kind of just gets in the way when you get older, which sucks. But yeah, it's definitely something I would consider. It just has to be sort of like the right setup, I think. So yeah, open to it, but haven't explored it at this point.
Yeah. Cool. No, it's definitely tough. I mean, we've got a floating a guy off the bench, one of our other buddies, because I travel quite a bit for work, so it's tough. I mean, we have to commit to doing it.
When we started, we'd always kind of talked about it before last season. I'd kind of been in the realm of doing some type of podcast stuff, and he was like, dude, I want to talk about it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so we said we're gonna do it every week. Whatever time we can get it in, let's just make sure we get it in. And oh my gosh, I did not realize how much work it is. It's insane.
It's insane. Like it always blows my mind because like I'll see people at the racetrack, and the weirdest thing is like people recognizing you now and like coming up and being like, hey, like really like watching your content. I appreciate it so much. It's still very surreal to me when it happens. But people are always surprised when they're like, you have an actual 9 to 5. I'm like, yeah, dude, like I work a professional 9 to 5 job. Mm-hmm. Thankfully it's from home, but then like I still put out all this content. Like it's work sometimes. I travel with a wireless mic wherever I go, just in case I have to post a video about something happening. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just this weird commitment I've made to trying to grow this brand and get the news out. Like last year coming back from Martinsville in the fall, we were stopped in a McDonald's parking lot at like 10 p.m. so I could record in the car using my girlfriend's phone, her light to shine on my face while I was recording on my phone with the wireless mic. Like it's, always fun, but it's definitely a challenge at times.
Wow. That's impressive.
Dude, that's commitment.
That is commitment.
The worst part is this dude just rolls up next to us and parks, and then he's just staring at me as I'm recording. Yeah. And like, I just kept going. Did I turn my camera off?
Yeah, you did.
I just kept going, and I was like, I got finished, and my girlfriend was like, that was super impressive. Like, you just didn't break the entire time.
Yeah. I was like, you're committed at that point.
Exactly.
Do you ever get nervous about doing stuff like that in public?
I used to.
Yeah.
I used to be pretty nervous about it. Also, apologies for my video freezing here. I'm not sure why that happened. But yeah, I used to be pretty nervous about it. Now, not so much anymore. It's definitely gotten to the point where I'm just comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get myself to pop back up on the screen.
You're good. While you mess with that, we do a thing on the show, and I just got a couple more things for you, and we'll let you go. I know you're a busy man. We do a good race rating every week. And so I want to get you, we do it out of 10, 0 out of 10.
Okay.
And what'd you think about Vegas this weekend?
So I gave it a 91 on my TikTok video because I really enjoyed it. I would probably give it, going back and looking, I was actually really happy the Jeff Gluck poll was like 88% or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that made me happy. I would probably still give it a 9 out of 10 if we're not going in like increments here of like, 8.7 or whatever. You still had 9 drivers that led 10 or more laps, which is great. I really appreciated that aspect of it. Commerce goers, different strategies, different winner on top of that. Like, I really enjoyed it. Gen 7 car wasn't designed for intermediate racetracks, performs really well there. So I'm really happy about that aspect of it. What'd you guys give it?
I gave it a 9.3. We do the
Okay.
Yeah,
we do
okay,
the weird
okay.
points, so it's,
Yeah.
it was fine to do that. It's cool, but yeah, I gave it a 9.3. I don't know what Sanders gave it.
I was at a 9.2.
You're at a 9.2.
Yep.
Okay, we were all
Yep.
over it then.
Yep.
I mean, I thought it was a great race, absolutely phenomenal. He's back.
Here we go.
He's
Yeah,
back.
I have a DJ Osmo 3, like a handheld camera for like when I go to the racetrack and stuff, and I was using that as a webcam. Apparently, it doesn't want to be a webcam anymore. So we're back to the MacBook. But yeah, no, I'm glad that everybody else kind of enjoyed it just as much because I thought it was really good. And Homestead this weekend hopefully should be just as good.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
The season has like perfectly progressed from, of course, you come off the high of a Daytona 500, you know, where you're going to get the big ones and whatever. It's chaos. And we've kind of built up to, and then you get a road course, which you get Atlanta, which is another super speedway, pretty much same thing. Then you go to a road course, and then you have this weekend, which is kind of like the first race of the year, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And then now we're moving into, hopefully, like you said, something even better. So before you leave us, who is your favorite driver?
I get this question all the time
Yeah.
in my TikTok lives, and I honestly don't have a favorite driver now.
Oh, don't do that to us.
I know. I just like to see
give
the
us the one
story.
growing up then, because I know you had one then.
If I had one, I had one growing up. I was definitely a Gordon fan growing up. Like I've got a lot of Gordon diecasts
Yep.
and everything like that. My dad raced sprint cars with him in Indiana when I was
that's cool.
before I was born. So we were always just kind of Gordon household here. But yeah, the only recent diecast I bought has been Kimi Räikkönen Project 91 diecast.
That's cool.
I'm also kind of partial to SVG. Like I just want to see him do well
Yeah.
because I think it's a good story overall. Outside of that, I like to see just a good race. I will say, I think I've been to 7 races in like the last year, and Hendrick Motorsports has won every single one of them except for Martinsville Falls. So
Wow.
I'm just a good luck charm
You
for
must
them
be.
at this
yeah,
point.
no
Yeah.
kidding.
That's awesome.
So, and hopefully, because we do want to hear a favorite current driver, and hopefully we know the name, but favorite 410 driver? You have one of those right now?
Ooh. I would have said Corey Day before because that kid just absolutely rips, but he's
does.
not full time anymore. I really like I like Giovanni Scelzi a lot on the World Outlaw side of things. I think that he can absolutely rip a 410, just doesn't have the sustained speed, but I like him as a driver overall. I'm trying to think who else I would pick here. Obviously, people are going to be like, well, David Gravel or Brad Sweet. That's a lame pick. Those are too easy.
Right.
Dude, Brad Sweet.
But yeah, on the high limit side of things, the Darren Pittman given a run in the 69K car almost won the opener. Yeah. I appreciate just kind of programs like that at this point where it's not the most well funded, but like just dudes that know how to make a car go fast.
Yeah, good solid drivers too. No, I like those answers.
Wait, so who's your 410 pick then?
Man, I'm definitely not as big into it.
Oh yeah, you're the late model. Okay,
yeah,
your late model
but
pick,
so obviously I'm gonna pick like a Kyle Larson. But you know, I watched the High Limit. I really like Tyler Courtney. We watched that first. I'm sure you watched the first season of Dirt that came out a handful of years ago. So me and my fiance we were pretty big Sunshine fans just watching that. Always pull for Rico. It's kind of one of those weird things.
Yeah.
Probably like how you feel about Cup, where it's just all so cool to me that, you know, sometimes I try to hate somebody and it's like impossible. I tried that in super late models where, you know, I started trying to hate RTJ.
Yeah, I know.
And then
You
I'm
can't
like,
do it.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. He seems like too solid of a guy.
Yeah.
He's willing to drive anything too, which
he is.
I appreciate.
Yeah, super cool.
Rico is super nice. I don't know if you guys have met him in person or not. I met him at BrakeHard 400 last year. Yeah, just couldn't be a nicer guy. We are the polar opposites in sizes, though. I'm 6'5" and Rico's his height. So when we were standing next to each other, I was like,
"You're a tall drink of water."
Oh yeah, Eric East,
Golly.
Eric Eastep and I are holding it down for if there's a NASCAR content creator basketball game, like we're there.
Yeah, you guys are gonna call up Carson and he's gonna play guard. You know? Yeah,
I last fall I got invited to test an outlaw sprint out at Millbridge.
Wow.
And I want to do it. I'm probably going to do it, but my first question was, am I going to fit? And the answer I got back was, well, host of our fits, so we think you will. I was like, okay.
Well, I guess you saw that Cletus McFarland just got told he couldn't fit in one. So that's surprising.
I saw they're gonna build him a tall car, so that'll be interesting.
That will be interesting.
A tall car? What does that mean?
They're gonna raise the roll cage up for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to race, which I don't know. Was he supposed to race or just test like Pastrana did?
He was going to test.
He was going to test, yeah. So Cletus McFarland was going to test, and then he sent the specs over and everything. They basically told him, it's not going to happen.
Poor guy.
So I've sat in a 410 before, and Cletus is 6'6", so we're pretty close in height. And my head with the helmet on is like above the roll bar a little bit right there, or where the cage would be, and that's just not something that you want to deal with.
No.
So that's another dude that's doing a lot for content creating and for NASCAR
for sure.
side of things.
He's done a lot. He's a good guy.
Yeah. So if he goes to dirt, like that's gonna be great for dirt.
Yeah, it'd be huge. Well. Yeah, there's gonna be a big shockwave really wherever he decides to go and whatever he decides to do.
Yeah.
Before we go, last thing, we'll let you go. Who do you think wins the championship this year?
Ooh,
you had to pick one.
Good question. I'm not going with the Penske trend. I'm going to buck the Penske trend here. And I think it's finally the year William Byron gets it done.
Wow.
He's had 2 shots at it. Third time's a charm, right? And I think that Hendrick is just so pissed that they are not competitive at Phoenix that for especially that 24 team and the engineering staff they have over there, the sim team, they are going to be working on that Phoenix setup for months at this point. So, I would go ahead and I would side with them right now. Josh Berry he's a dark horse pick because the way the playoffs set up in terms of the rounds, there is a strong Josh Berry track in every round leading up there, especially if he makes it to the round of 8. You have Las Vegas, you have Martinsville in there, 2 tracks that he's going to be very good at. And then you have Talladega, which, I mean, heck, he was super competitive at both of those super speedways so far this year. Mm-hmm. It's about surviving, though.
It's definitely about surviving. Yeah. And I'm interested to see if that speed is sustainable too, which we know it's a 4th Penske car, but anytime someone gets, and I'm not going to say he's hot, we've only seen a handful of races, but that's what's funny to me. Like, I think William Byron could definitely win a championship. And the fact that he's not coming out of the gate hot almost makes me feel like he will.
Yeah.
Just because he's always started so hot, and then it's like he falls off the face of the earth. So you might be onto something with that pick.
100% how I feel about Byron, because you're right. If you look at like his racing reference page, he starts off the season hot every single time. Like first 12 races a year, he's going to rack up at least 2 wins. And then after that, he cools off so much. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe they're like, we're going to pace ourselves throughout the year here versus coming out the gate hot. But yeah, the Barry thing I'm interested in, because the fact that they won at Las Vegas means a lot just because it wasn't a fluke win. Like, to win there on speed like they did, you had to be in contention. You had to have the speed to do it. It's not like Daytona, Talladega, or Atlanta, where you can maybe kind of luck into it there. Like, they had to have speed all day, which we'll see how they do at Miami this weekend. If they do well there, then I think they might be the real deal. But
I agree.
It'll be interesting.
Well, you got anything else?
Nope, I'm all good. I just appreciate you giving us some time.
Yeah, man, we
really
been great getting to know you a little bit better.
Well, before I go, who are you guys picking to win the championship?
We both picked before Daytona. We did a little live podcast, I guess, for the duels. And me and Spencer, without predetermining who we picked, we both picked Bell.
Yeah.
So
okay,
but now I'm scared because I feel like it's going to be a Byron thing where come out of the gate hot and then we'll see. But
I think we're going to see Christopher Bell go dormant, hopefully, for like the next 10 weeks. Like, we're just going to go,
and then
where
wake back
go?
up.
Yeah, pull a Joey on us. Joey's so good at this dumb shit that he does, where he just gets stupid hot in the playoffs for some unknown reason. So I'm hoping that's C-Bell this year.
Yeah, that's who we picked.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. And again, playoffs set up really well for him. Gateway in one round, New Hampshire in another round. He's really good at both of those. And then you go to, Martinsville, where he's won at, Vegas, where I think he's won at Vegas before in the Gen 7 era. So again, rounds stack up really well.
He's won the Roval before too.
Yep.
If I remember right. So yeah, won at Phoenix before.
It's just something when he gets to Phoenix though in these Toyotas where we've seen mechanical failures time and time again, and that is the most worrisome thing about him getting there is because he has to do all this work to get there, and then for them to just build a crap car and his brakes blow out or something, because he's braking too hard.
Yeah, I think Toyotas notoriously are going aggressive on that brake package.
They must be doing.
And
something.
I thought they would have it figured out. Especially after Bell loses the championship, so I was surprised to see, Bubba. So which I completely chalk up to Toyota. I don't think Bubba's sitting there riding the brakes too hard. I mean, he knows how to drive a race car. So
Bubba and Ty both got caught out by it. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and in Bell's championship year when he did that, he was only it was less than 100 laps into the race. So,
right. Yeah, definitely a Toyota
just a weird.
problem.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm very excited about this season. I don't know if we're going to get to the 16 different winners that we had last year, but I think that we're going to have a really competitive, run up to that championship. The run that we had last year going in the playoffs of those first time winners or Chase Briscoe winning, I don't know if that's going to happen again, but it was fun. If it does happen, I'm not going to be mad about it, but we also don't have that many first time winners to go that are at least, I think, in contention week in, week out.
In winnable cars. For sure.
Yeah. I think Hocevar is probably the next one. And I think the FRM trio is super talented. I just don't know if they have the speed yet to.
Which is that weird to you? Because, I mean, it's key partner with Ford, right? I mean, and we're going on year 2 of that, I believe. I mean, I guess I just expected, not for them to be a Penske level. You're never going to be, I don't think, in the Ford camp. But what do you think? Are they on par with where you thought they would be?
No, just because they run, like you said, they got tier 1 support now. So you would think that they would be running better, and it feels like they're kind of running neutral to where they've been.
Right. Kind of like they're running where they had built up to before getting that tier 1 support. Yeah,
because here's, I guess kind of the best comparison is if they show up in the top 10, and I'm surprised about it still. Zane Smith running top 10, I was that's a really good run for them. When I'm not surprised that they're in the top 10, that's when they've leveled up to where I think they should be at. But they aren't there yet. Super talented drivers. That trio, I think, are all future Cup winners.
I think so, too.
But, just don't have that speed, sustained speed yet.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it.
Well, let's wrap it up because we're at
we'll go all
45 minutes. Yeah, this guy will talk to you all day. But, dude, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much for your time. Keep doing what you're doing. I personally enjoy your content that you make, so thank you so much for coming on with us lowdowns down here that just doing podcasts. So we really appreciate it, man. Keep it up, and look forward to hearing from you again, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on. Whenever you guys want me to hop on, if you need a third person, let me know if it works out for my schedule. More than happy to get on here and talk racing because, it's kind of all I do in my after 5 to 9. So, no.
9 to 5.
9 to 5.
Yep.
9 to 5, yes.
Working 5 to 9. Yeah.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah,
we feel the same way. It's nice to have another person to talk racing about.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See you.